Great. Well, thank you, Jeff. It's been a good journey for me. I came here yesterday, flew straight into SFO, had straight into the partner meeting, just about managed to stay awake, and had a great dinner with an Alfresco customer, still stayed awake, and then I had a comatose experience last night. So hopefully I'm somewhat coherent this morning. But thank you for the warm words there, Jeff. And see if I can get the clicker to work. This is my third city. So I've been in Paris, Berlin, and now here. And we've had over 1,100 people to these three events. And that's I think shows the amazing momentum that Alfresco has, the interest that's in Alfresco, that people are prepared to give up their really valuable time and come out and talk to our partners, talk to our engineers, and really understand what's the engine and power and what's driving Alfresco. So thank you all for making the effort and coming out here today, and hopefully you'll get some valuable insights as to where Alfresco's going and what our plans are. So I thought it would be a good time really to think about leadership. I know everyone in this room may be sick to death of thinking about leadership, but for the last few months you've been in that most intensive democratic maelstrom of anywhere on the planet. I think they spent $2 billion in advertising, so there's a lot of power behind the process here. Now, the last thing you're going to hear is a British guy talking about American politics. I think the last time we got involved in that was when we sailed up the Potomac and shelled Washington, so I think we learned our lesson. But I thought it was a good time to talk about leadership because, you hear this phrase about open source communities. One of the phrases you might hear is it's a benign dictatorship. So what is the Alfresco community and what are the leadership qualities you're looking for in that community? What's the mission for that community? What's the experience brings to bear? And who is the leadership? Got some nice pictures here. There's Jeff. That's Jeff before he actually joined Alfresco, being awarded the top contributor for the community back in 2008. There's some of our core engineers. That picture was taken just after we started Alfresco. Engineers like playing foosball, and I think they're still playing that game. And that's a picture of me. Rather worryingly, I'm wearing the same jacket as that picture from 2006. There is riches in open source. They, not always obvious. So I think it's a good time to think about leadership. And what sort of leadership do we want from our community? Do we want experience? Do we want leadership that will stick dogmatically till the bitter end, despite the writing being on the wall? Do we want rational leadership? And I think it's good, when you're getting into content management, what you're doing is you're committing to a long-term future, because once you've put millions and millions of records and documents inside a content management system, it's going to stay there a long time. And what we've seen, I think, with the proprietary model is it's very easy for that relationship to change from a beneficial relationship where you're the customer and they're the supplier to an adversarial relationship where they are the taxation master and you have to pay the fees, because once you've got 400 million contracts or insurance quotes or medical records, you're not going anywhere quickly. And that's why it's important to think about the company and the leadership. And, you know, I could go on and on with a few of these examples about leadership. But I think the best example is there's no doubt that SharePoint has become a very, very popular system. And it's getting everybody's vote. But it's a bit of a monopoly. So we all have to vote for this thing. And it's all true. It's, you know, it really is all things to all men. It's very adaptable. It's in the cloud. It's mobile. Well, sort of. It's very proprietary. Doesn't like competition. But, you know, recently it's being rehabilitated. I think even Apple have done a good job of making Microsoft seem cuddly. So I think now you've seen what you don't want. This is what you're going to get in terms of leadership. These two guys. And of course, we take ourselves very seriously. So, more seriously, what is Alfresco's mission? We've talked about content management. We've talked about enterprise content management, and you're going to be hearing a lot about that. But it's really about what does that do for your organization? Because technology, for technology's sake, does nobody any good. But what this technology does is it really enables an organization to preserve and project the key assets that make that organization successful. And that's where we come up with this thought that Alfresco's mission is to help you do great work, because it's through the preservation of that content that you have the evidence of great work. It's what powers the brand. It's what gives the customers security and reliability and consistency. It's what gives the regulatory authorities the confidence that you're managing the business successfully. And it's what enables you to drive productivity improvements in the organization, because content isn't going away. There's more and more content to be managed. It's becoming more important to the organization because as the cycles get faster and faster, it's much more important that you control and manage the content and have the audit trail and have the security of knowing that the changes you're making to the business are reflected in the processes of the business. And that's our mission. There's some great examples here. Martin Luther King Center. That work from Martin Luther King is now available online to everybody in the world to review, and that work's preserved now for all time, but disseminated in a way that anyone can get access to it for free. And the other example here is New York Philharmonic. And I think these just show, okay, they're not commercial organizations, but they show the value of content. And it's a value not just in the organization, but to all of us in terms of improving society. And that really started me thinking about why exactly did we start Alfresco back in 2005. And I can tell you that at that time, there are a lot of people who thought we were completely crazy. At that time, there were lots of very, very good content management systems. Enterprise content management itself had become a bit of a three-letter word, maybe a four-letter word. That organizations saw the vision of having a good, centralized, well-managed content repository that they could build into the business process of the organization. That was a dream most people signed up to and subscribed to, but it hadn't been delivered. And John and I, when we started Alfresco, we started out on the basis of looking at why were the reasons ECM were failing. It wasn't because ECM itself was bad. You know, the techniques and the productivity it could bring were well understood. It was delivering at that level, but there were some key failures for ECM. The first failure was that it was just way too expensive. You had to be a $1 billion plus corporation to have any hope of affording a credible ECM system. It was really expensive. And if you looked at the growth of ECM in that period, it was low. And the reason it was low was that people just couldn't justify it. They couldn't afford it. The second reason was it was way too complex. You know, people were looking to start with ECM in an incremental fashion, to build it into their architecture, but their first application may be just replacing the shared drive and getting that under control, and to pay millions and millions of dollars for that, and to take months and months, maybe years, to roll that out to their users, again, couldn't be justified. And the third thing was innovation. We all know that the world of content is changing really, really rapidly. There probably isn't a piece of technology changing as fast as the need we have to handle content in different ways in any sphere. And yet the ECM industry hadn't innovated. It was very stodgy, it was very slow, and it was these big proprietary companies. And it was getting worse because the innovators in the ECM business were being swallowed up by IBM, by Oracle, by HP, and you just know that when these big corporations swallow a piece of software, that is the absolute death of innovation for that software. So we thought back then there had to be a better way, and the way we decided to do that was to use the power of open source. Because with open source, it meant we could solve a number of key issues. We still had to build a very, very credible ECM system. There was no shortcut to that. But it meant that with open source, we could solve a lot of the key problems that customers were having in delivering their ECM. So on the cost front, it enabled us to deliver a low-cost subscription model. And what that means is that the price of the ECM system is actually allied to the customer's business. Because when you think about buying software licenses, all you're paying is a tax on your business. A software license does nothing for a company. It's just a contract. What does something for your company is running that software in production. Because when you've got a system in production, your users are using it, they're getting benefit, there's an ROI for the business. And so the subscription model, I thought, really appeals because it lines up the interests of the software maker with the software consumer 100%. Because you pay for the subscription to service great software in production. You're not paying for an upfront license. And so I think that really changes the relationship between Alfresco and its customers. We also really focused on making this software really easy to consume and deploy rapidly. Because in the open source world, when you can click and download maybe 500 different open source content management systems that are out there, you're only a click away from the next competitor. And so that system has to be really easy to install. So really early on, we focused on quick to install, quick to set up, quick time to value. And I think everyone that's used Alfresco has appreciated that incremental way you can build the system into a department, you can extend it, but you never move away from that vision of being able to have a centralized repository to manage all the organization's content. And because of open source, we have a different quantum of innovation. And the reason we have that is not because, okay, we're maybe the smartest guys on the planet, but in any one company, there's only maybe 50 smart guys, 50 engineers who really understand this stuff. But in the world, there are thousands of people with great ideas. And in a closed source model, you can have the best idea you want, but what are your chances of getting that idea implemented in Oracle or in SAP or in any of these systems? Zero, or virtually zero. Whereas in the open source world, you can contribute your idea directly. And the fact that you're able to do that means not only you solve your problem, but you're going to solve a problem probably for millions of other people, and you're going to get something back, which is you're going to get your problems attended to by other people in that network. And the whole subscription model and open model enables you to really deliver on that. And for us to deliver on that at a fraction of the cost, we don't have to have all the good ideas. You can have the good ideas and give them back to us. And I think the proof of this, I guess in this room you wouldn't think of another company that would be closed and have quality standards that are off the scale in terms of how they use and deploy software. And SAP is that company. And SAP selected Alfresco to replace an existing proprietary ECM system that was on one of those slides before. And they've rolled it out to 50,000 employees, and they're in production. So that is a real testament to that this isn't some sort of, as Gartner would put it, devil's music, crazy, low-quality system. Alfresco has delivered the highest performing, highest quality ECM on the planet today, and one that you can all rely on and bet your businesses on. And this is the proof. And it's all over the world. And what we're providing is the means for you to guarantee that service in production. It's secure, it's open, but we're supporting that for our customers 24/7. We have 3 global support centers, one in Europe, one in the US, one in Sydney, and we can provide you with 24/7 support to handle all your problems, no matter how complex and how mission critical the system is to your organization. And we have, as Jeff said, thousands and thousands of paying customers now. And the interesting thing is that those customers that are using Alfresco, the average employee count in those organizations is 10,000. So this isn't a system that's just used by companies that maybe could not afford ECM. This is a system that's used by companies who have used the big guys and now realize there's a better way to do their ECM business. Here are some of the companies here. I'm not going to dwell too much on this. Customers in 76 countries. So in a short period of time, we've been able to build a global business, again, at the fraction of the cost that it's taken similar companies to roll their business out globally. And the benefit to you guys in that is, again, it means we're able to lower the cost of the subscription because of that model. The fact that we have reach in 76 countries, I think, is a testament to the power of this model. And we're in great company. I always think you can measure the quality of a company you're dealing with by the customers it keeps. And we have some great customers. We've been particularly strong in government, and we like to think of it as open government. We're helping governments engage with their citizens in a different way to the way they've traditionally done that. And I think we're all seeing that as the internet rolls out around the world, the need for governments to become open and accountable. And Alfresco's proud to be playing a part of that. And we have some great federal customers here, some state customers, and it's been a real, I think, a real benefit to them to have an organization that lines up with their business and offers a subscription service in the way their business needs. We're very strong in finance, and I think even the financial institutions since the financial crisis have had to realize that they have to look at their business processes in different ways. They have to be more open and accountable, and they have to deliver systems in a way that they couldn't do previously. And again, Alfresco's open source ECM model is helping them do that. And these are not, trifling institutions. These are institutions who are managing your assets day to day, and they're putting their trust in Alfresco. And we're very strong in open manufacturing, particularly high tech, because in high tech, the cycle times are getting shorter and shorter, and you have to be able to guarantee that you've got the right documentation for that Airbus, because if those things crash, there's big consequences. And so preserving that documentation, managing the best practice, the standard operating procedures, the plant maintenance for high-tech companies, again, is a good area that Alfresco's been involved in. And in travel and logistics, these businesses rely on providing great service. That's how they distinguish themselves. And it's the content that helps them project the evidence of that good service to their customers and helps them manage their franchises and manage their employees. And these are all very intensive human businesses. And human beings take a lot of management. So an ECM system that really provides business process productivity is really valuable to helping the bottom line of these organizations. So that's a little bit about where we came from, but where are we going to in the future? And in 2012, we thought it's really time to think of the next level of disruption. Now, we were quite lucky because we started Alfresco in 2005. That's the same time that a company called Box started. So that may surprise some of you. We started in the same year. And when we started, we thought, we want to build the world's greatest ECM system. And we also thought, this cloud thing is going to be big. But back in 2005, we realized, because we understood ECM, that the internet at that point was not able to deliver. You know, you couldn't then really contemplate connecting gigabytes of content over the internet. It just wasn't robust enough. But we built that thinking into our plan, so we created an architecture that, although we were delivering Alfresco as an on-premise download in 2005, we could deliver it in the cloud. So we kept that thought, and that architecture went into our original design. And so in 2012, we've revealed a new architecture. But it's really an architecture that we've been supporting all the time, and that's cloud-connected content. That's the ability for you to be able to use your content through the cloud on any device from any point on the planet. And just keep that thought in mind. Cloud-connected content is an architecture for improving the flow of content in your organization. Because the needs have changed. Since 2005, we've had a mobile revolution, and we've all got devices now that enable us to consume, edit, and play with content in a totally different way to that point when we started Alfresco. And not only does it have to be easy to get the content on those devices, it has to be easy. And we've seen a revolution in the expectation of users to consume content. The consumerization of applications is a big force. And you want those systems to be as easy to use in the office or when you're mobile, but using an enterprise-grade system, as when you're using Facebook or Google or whatever. And it has to be secure, it has to be easy for these cloud-like applications, but it has to deliver you that business benefit. And I think a lot of people have struggled with mobile because it's quite difficult to connect using that mobile device to a benefit for the business. And ultimately, businesses will only invest in this technology if they can see a direct benefit to their bottom line. So how can we use ECM and the cloud to improve the collaboration, the social interworking of our employees, but deliver a business benefit? And all of that pressure is creating this sort of flood of content. But this flood could be quite negative, because for years we've invested in security, authorization, compliance for our content behind the firewall. And now we see it streaming out of the organization. You know, even the CIA seem to have a problem with emails streaming out of the organization. And I think, you know, that sort of typifies this problem, that the legacy needs to be able to reach out, because the people will demand it. They have to have that consumer cloud experience. But we've now got to solve that Dropbox problem, because one end user putting that content into Dropbox may be great for him, but it's the CIO who's next going to be on the block when they discover that he's allowed all his friends to see the latest pricing or patent information or whatever that they'd spent years securing behind the firewall. It won't be that end user. And really, this way of thinking about cloud-connected content is all about, so you need that power of ECM, that robust, super scalable, super secure repository of content behind the firewall, but you need that agility in the cloud. And how do you get both of those things? And that's what we're delivering today, because with Alfresco, we're the only solution that enables you to have that power behind the firewall and in the cloud, because it's the same system. And so we've removed all the issues about how you communicate content between two different systems. So the whole integration nightmare, what's the right metadata, what's the right audit log, what's the business process, is now transparent. It's the same thing on either side of the firewall. So there's going to be lots of use cases that you guys will dream up that I think will show how you can now revolutionize the use of content, and you don't have to make that invidious decision of, I've got to stay behind the firewall and have a horrible system for my users, or I've got to be in the cloud and risk a security nightmare. You can manage what content you put where and keep it as secure as you like. So just keep that thought in mind. And also keep in mind Alfresco community. There's a new community release out there. We've put a lot of effort in the last year into the cloud. And that's been a big, big focus for our engineering teams, particularly delivering on the multi-tenanted cloud service that I guess a lot of you have tried out and is out there in the cloud right now. And then connecting that to the on-premise service. And that technology is all available. But we're going to carry on innovating. And we're going to innovate from that cloud premise. We're going to start using the cloud as a way to drive innovation and drive that back down through Alfresco Enterprise and into the on-premise world as well. It's the same APIs, so things that you've invested in on-premise, applications that you've built, partner solutions that there are, you'll be able to take those and use those directly in the cloud and connect those APIs together. So I think this is going to again, drive a new wave of monetization, a new wave of apps that are going to be out there that will be free to download and connect in this system. And I think we're going to see incredible innovation coming from the Alfresco community in the next 12 months. And we'll be powering that with lots and lots of new community releases coming out very rapidly. So thank you for listening to me. I'm going to leave you now to the thoughts of my co-founder, John Newton, and I'll be around for the rest of the conference, so if any of you have any questions, I'm happy to have a chat to you, and I look forward to working with you in the next months and years. Thank you.